It's Thursday, March 27. In the headlines, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio defends criticism of Cuban medical missions, but says Jamaica is in the clear. In business news, telecoms company Flow to upgrade to 5G. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago makes history with launch of Women, Peace and Security National Action Plan. And in sports, records smashed at the Boys and Girls Championships Day 2. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. As the Donald Trump administration targets Cuba's medical mission program, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio clarified on Wednesday that there is no evidence to suggest that Jamaica is involved in forced labor practices related to the program. Mr. Rubio addressed the matter during a press conference in Jamaica alongside Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. The U.S. government's announcement on February 25 of visa restrictions for Cuban government officials and others involved in the Cuban medical mission program is part of a broader effort to combat forced labor practices. But U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Jamaica has established and enforced strong labor policies that align with international labor standards.
This is not about the provision of medical assistance. We have no problem with medical assistance. We have no problem with doctors. We have a problem, and I'm not speaking about Jamaica. We've discussed this today about, following international labor standards and the like, but I'm just talking about this program in general, how it's operated around the world. And how it's operated around the world is that basically the doctors are not paid. In many other parts of the world, the doctors are not paid. You pay the Cuban government. The Cuban government decides how much of anything to give them. They take away their passports. They basically operate as forced labor in many places. Now, there are places that have better labor standards. Perhaps Jamaica is one of those, and that's fine. But I'm describing generally what the program has been.
The threat of visa sanctions on countries hosting Cuban medical professionals has caused concern within CARICOM, as many regional nations have deep ties with Cuba and rely on its healthcare workers to fill critical gaps in their healthcare systems. In Jamaica, more than 400 Cuban healthcare specialists, including doctors, nurses, and biomedical engineers, are currently working on the island. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, also speaking at the press conference, acknowledged the crucial role Cuban professionals play in Jamaica's healthcare system.
Jamaica has a deficit in health personnel, primarily because many of our health personnel have migrated to other countries. We are, however, very careful not to exploit the Cuban doctors who are here. We ensure that they are treated within our labor laws and benefit like any other worker.
Meanwhile, responding to concerns about the U.S. travel advisory to immigrants regarding the period of stay and green cards, Mr. Rubio assures that legal travelers have nothing to fear.
If you're one of these lunatics that's going to put on a mask over your face and break into a student union center and harass students, and we wouldn't have let you in the first place. If you had told us if you told us, I'm going to America not just to study at your university, but to tear up your campus, we would have never let you in. And if you do that, once you come into the United States, we're going to kick you out. We're going to do that. And I don't care what terrorist organization is supporting, we're going to kick you out. If you're a gang member, we're going to kick you out. Okay? If you're one of these violent gang members that's coming to the United States, then we're going to kick you out. That we're going to do. There's no doubt about it. But the president's very committed to that. And but if you're a green card holder and you're not any of these things, you're going to be fine.
The U.S. Secretary of State also spoke on the issue of foreign aid. This as the Trump administration has placed staff of the USAID on administrative leave, stating, among other things, the need for a redefinition of U.S. foreign aid policy.
Some of these programs are fine. They're nice things. Other times, not so much. Nonetheless, that's how it used to be. How we want it to be in the future is that our embassies are involved with the host government, our hosts, our partners, and we ask them, what are your needs? And we provide assistance geared towards the needs of the nation states that are hosting us and that we're partnering with.
The press conference followed an almost 1 hour long meeting between the two leaders, which Prime Minister Holness describes as productive. He furthered that Jamaica remains committed to strengthening its partnership with the United States and expanding opportunities for mutually beneficial collaboration. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has announced significant initiatives aimed at improving security in Jamaica, following a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness in Kingston on Wednesday. Since the beginning of this year, Jamaica has seen a 34% decrease in murder and a 19% decline in major crimes, a trend that Mr. Rubio praised as impressive.
Because you've made very impressive progress in your general numbers overall when it comes to the murder rate and so forth. But in particular, with those travel advisories are designed to American travelers. And I think we need to analyze that and just ensure that the status we're currently in accurately reflects the status quo and takes into account the progress you've already made this year and made last year, year over year, which I think is one of the highest numbers in terms of reductions that we've seen of any country in the region.
However, concerns about crime remain high across the island, prompting further U.S. support. Mr. Rubio acknowledged the role illegal transnational trade in arms play in criminal activities.
How many of the guns and the weapons that are being used by gangs to commit acts of violence here in Jamaica are purchased in the United States and then shipped here? And we want to commit to doing more to stopping that flow at the same time as we do more to commit to increasing your capacity. That's the other thing I underline. What we're talking about here when we talk about American assistance is America helping Jamaica build its own capacity, its own ability to confront these challenges and solve these problems.
As part of the U.S. assistance, Mr. Rubio announced several key developments, including the enhancement of the Joint Operations for Logistics and Technology Fusion Center.
Another counter-gang recruitment program that we seek to launch as a result of our visit here today, and announce something that I think is really important, and that is software, intelligence software for the law enforcement here in Jamaica to combat gangs, things like night vision goggles as well, technology, and we look to do more.
For his part, Dr. Holness expressed confidence that the dialogue initiated will yield tangible outcomes that benefit the country's citizens and contribute to mutual stability and prosperity. Emirates Airlines will begin weekly scheduled flights from Dubai to Montego Bay starting April 10. That's the word from Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett. Our news team caught up with Minister Bartlett after the joint U.S. press conference on Wednesday.
5 years ago, we went and met with the chairman of Emirates. And at that meeting, we had an understanding that there would be a basis for not just opening that market through Emirates, but to make Jamaica the hub for the region.
The new route will transit through Germany before arriving at the Stansted International Airport in Montego Bay.
The flight will arrive on the 10th at 6:55 p.m. and it's a 777-300 aircraft, which brings 400 to 500 passengers. It will come into Jamaica and will be once a week from April until December.
Opposition leader Mark Golding is rejecting claims that he played a role in Jamaica's financial sector collapse of the 1990s. His denial follows accusations from Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, who linked members of the opposition to favorable deals during the FinSAC era.
Opposition leader Mark Golding is refuting any involvement in Jamaica's 1990s financial sector crash known as the FinSAC era. Responding to Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness's budget presentation, where the PMP was blamed for the economic fallout, Mr. Golding defended his position at a press conference on Wednesday. He insisted he was merely a businessman navigating the crisis like many others.
That era is long gone. I had no role in FinSat whatsoever. I was in the private sector there. I was an attorney at law, and I was involved in business as well. So, that was an environment we all had to navigate who were in the sector at that time, and we did it skillfully enough that we never had to ask FinSat for any support.
He also criticized the absence of a FinSAC report, calling it a government scandal.
What has been a real waste of expenditure is over $100 million that the government spent on a commission of inquiry, which has not delivered a report. That's a scandal. Over $100 million spent on getting the facts as to what took place, and they have not published a report.
The opposition leader says FinSAC was created to protect depositors and prevent them from losing their money during the financial crisis.
FinSAC ensured that in a crisis in the financial sector, depositors didn't lose any money. Pensioners didn't lose any money. Persons who had insurance didn't lose any money. That was the purpose of FinSAC. And yes, it cost the country quite a lot of money, and we took time to work our way out of that. We're now at 6.
Time now for the business report with Denise Williams.
Welcome to today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, here to bring you the stories shaping the financial world and guiding your journey to smarter business decisions. Let's dive into the top headlines. General Manager Stephen Price of telecoms provider Flow announced a planned spend of US $50 million. The project is the build-out of a 100% fiber optic network and the rebuilding and strengthening of the existing network following the devastation caused by Hurricane Beryl. The objective is to expand Flow's fiber optic network during this calendar year in order to facilitate the introduction of 5G technology. The rise of digital currency has been slow in Jamaica, and yet investment expert Denise Marshall-Miller states that it is on the way to Jamaica, and notable organizations such as the Jamaica Stock Exchange are setting the stage for this to be a greater part of Jamaica's financial landscape.
Many people think it's not real, whether Forex trading, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, these words may not really impact some people, but they're here. And in order to get a really quick understanding of the impact in the investment world of Jamaica, we have with us investment manager, senior investment manager, Denise Marshall-Miller. Mrs. Marshall-Miller, what's happening in this, what should the public know about digital currencies and the reality globally and in Jamaica?
So, as it relates to digital currency, I think we're at evolution as it relates to money. We all know how money started from bartering to we have established coins, paper, etc. I really believe that cryptocurrency is the next stage. But if you truly understand what is happening right now with cryptocurrency and the technology that fuels cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, one would know that the achievement of this may come with resistance.
Okay.
Because it's really removing the middle entity. It's really removing the government, the regulators, the banking institutions.
Ooh,
and you're communicating directly, peer to peer. So of course the adoption is going to be slow.
Okay.
What you're seeing happening, however, is that different countries are embracing, I would say, digital currency. Jamaica is one of the first as it relates to their own local currency.
We have a Jamdex?
Yes, we have the Jamdex. We have a number of other jurisdictions that are doing the same. So the adoption is slow. But as I said, the going full to cryptocurrency is going to have a lot of eliminations. How do you maintain control? How is it that you can prevent crimes from happening, anti-money laundering. It's a number of things. But the adoption is slow. We are seeing that Bitcoin particularly, which is known to be the cryptocurrency, the volatility is there in its investment. Someone that is looking to get into cryptocurrency need to understand.
You need to work with a professional.
They need to understand what they're investing, because a lot of the times you have these crypto that comes out that has no proof of work. That doesn't exist. You have not been able to evaluate. And they come out. So there's no proof. And that would have happened a couple of years ago when we had the initial coin offering, where persons just raised money and then you never saw them. So you gotta ensure that you understand what you're investing.
And work with a professional.
Work with a professional to guide you as well.
For the trading period ending March 26, 2025, these were the most actively traded stocks. Caribbean financial conglomerate JMB Group Limited, 10% variable rate JMD preference shares with 10,423,828 units traded, representing 22.54% of market sales volume. Alternative energy provider Wigton Energy Limited with 7,784,796 units traded, representing 16.83% of market sales volume. Online education provider One-on-One Educational Services Limited with 4,864,248 units traded, representing 10.52% of market sales volume. We now shift our focus to the forex market rates set by the Bank of Jamaica. On March 26, 2025, the Bank of Jamaica reported US $61.22 million purchased and US $55.47 million sold by forex traders. Forex traders earned $1.82 per dollar, selling the US at $158.18 and buying the US at $156.36. The Canadian dollar netted forex traders 40 cents per transaction, with selling at $110.37 and buying at $109.97. The British pound yielded forex traders $1.43 in profits, with selling at $203.37 and buying at $201.94. For our credit report tip of the day, rebuilding credit isn't just about fixing numbers, it's about changing habits. The difference between a proactive and reactive approach can determine how quickly you regain financial strength. Winning strategies for proactive people include diversified credit accounts, mix of loans and credit cards for better scoring. You also can make extra payments on loans and credit cards to pay off debt faster. Avoid applying for multiple new credit lines at once. Now, winning strategies for reactive people, they could consider stop using credit for non-essential expenses while rebuilding. You could make minimum payments consistently while working toward paying more, or contact lenders if you're struggling instead of waiting for collections. And that wraps up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, reminding you that every financial decision is a step toward your future. Until next time, stay focused, stay informed, and keep striving for success. See you soon.
In regional news, Trinidad and Tobago has made history as the first Caribbean nation to officially launch a national action plan on women, peace, and security, with a focus on tackling gun and gang-related violence. The National Action Plan was launched by the Office of the Prime Minister. Ayanna Carter reports.
The Women, Peace and Security Agenda, or WPS, is anchored in the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 and was adopted on October 31, 2000. The resolution reaffirms the important role of women and girls in the prevention and resolution of conflict and stresses the importance of equal participation and full involvement in all efforts of peace and security. Trinidad and Tobago's journey has been assisted by the Government of Canada and the United Nations.
Today, you are making history as the first Caribbean nation to launch a WPS National Action Plan. Here, you are joining more than 100 other countries and regional organizations who have taken this step, but you are the first in the Caribbean. That makes Trinidad and Tobago a Caribbean leader in recognizing the multifaceted roles that women and girls and men and boys play in security.
Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister for Gender and Child Affairs, Ayanna Webster Roy, said the WPS National Action Plan will take a multifaceted approach where peace and security are not aspirations but realities.
By equipping our young people with sustainable means of livelihood, we empower them to reject the lure of crime and embrace the dignity of honest work. Despite all of this, despite the efforts of our government, we are still faced with a culture of crime and violence that we must address. Our government believes that restoring peace and safety in our communities require an all-of-society approach. This means that every sector, every organization, every individual must join hands in this vital endeavor.
United Nations Resident Coordinator in Trinidad and Tobago, Aruba, Curacao, St. Martin and Suriname, Joanna Kazana, said addressing the issues of crime and violence in Trinidad and Tobago requires bold action and solutions to make peace and security a reality.
So we are shifting the narrative. We are shifting the narrative from reaction to violence to prevention of violence, from exclusion to inclusion of women, and giving them the voice and leading role in building more cohesive communities, and also from non-peace to positive peace across the Caribbean. So I see it as a game-changing opportunity, and we are collectively really proud to be working with you in trying to create a society where violence, oppression, and injustice are really the relics of the past.
Though men and boys are mostly affected by crime and gun violence, Minister Webster Roy emphasized that the roles of women and girls to restore peace in society becomes amplified as the effect trickles down.
I call on the public to actively engage in forthcoming consultations and research projects. Your experiences and voices are essential to our national progress.
The minister said the plan is not just symbolic, but is designed to address the root causes of violence, which will in turn affect policy and encourage regional and international dialogue. Ayanna Carter, TTT News.
The Caribbean Court of Justice has concluded a 2-day hearing in a major legal battle between the Belizean government and 4 private LPG companies. At the heart of the case, whether the government violated the company's constitutional rights by blocking them from importing liquefied petroleum gas. The dispute traces back to 2019, a law that gave National Gas Company Limited exclusive importation rights. News 5's Paul Lopez reports.
Over 2 days, the Caribbean Court of Justice listened to 10 hours of arguments in the legal dispute between the government of Belize and 4 private liquefied petroleum gas companies. Senior Counsel Eamon Courtney kicked things off, making the first submissions on behalf of the Attorney General of Belize.
There is an insinuation, to put it in the most anodyne way. Government was acting from a position of perhaps bad faith or ill will in seeking to put the respondents out of business. That is not so. The Amendment Act, Your Honors, is a clear piece of evidence that the government was not intending to put them out of business. The government was intending to move the supply of LPG from road, sea, through a facility that advance the purposes.
In the early stages of the legal battle, when the four companies were up in arms over NGC's operations, Parliament stepped in and amended the National Liquefied Petroleum Gas Project Act.
The government leveled the playing field on the importation side and provided the right for someone to apply for a license to import LPG through an approved facility.
However, the law only approves facilities with a storage capacity of 1.5 million gallons. The LPG companies argue that this requirement isn't economically feasible for them. Attorney Douglas Mendes, representing his clients, claimed that while there's an option for these companies to import through NGC's facility, it's just a pretense.
By imposing impossible or commercially unviable, if that's a word, conditions to enter the market, you in effect maintain the monopoly. And that is the point that we make. So the monopoly still exists because you have on the face of it, it's written in the act that you're permitted entry, but you really can't enter because it is financially prohibitive, as the evidence indicates, to build a 1.5 million gallon plant, and just simply does not make sense to have us import through the NGC's terminal when that relationship is totally unregulated.
In sports, we're out the blocks with athletics. Kingston College's Julius Itubo delivered a stunning performance, breaking one of two records set on the second day of the Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships at the National Stadium. Itubo clocked an impressive 4 minutes, 5 seconds in the boys class 1 1500 meters, shattering the 5-year-old record of 4 minutes 12 set by Tavon Martin in 2019. This marked the first record of the championships to fall. The second record of the day came in the boys class 3 100 meters, where Jamaica College's Kai Kelly raced to victory with a time of 10.60 seconds. Kelly's win also broke the previous record of 10.69 seconds set by former Jamaica College athlete Christopher Scott in 2019. In a major upset in the boys' Class 1 1500 meters, defending champion Brian Kiprop of Kingston College disrupted the unbeaten streak of St. Jago's Ryan Atru. In the girls' events, Edwin Allen's Danique Palmer took the Class 3 1500 meters title with a time of 4 minutes 44. In Class 2, Alike Reynolds of Alphonsus Davis High dominated with a winning time of 4 minutes 41. A surprise came in the girls' Class 1 final, where Taifa Go of Heidel triumphed in 4 minutes 37, beating pre-race favorite Cindy Rose of Homewood. The championships continue to deliver excitement as athletes battle for supremacy at the National Stadium. And that's it for the news on PBCJ. Pleasant viewing.